area in Liberia.
As long as I'm a local man, I'm from Lofa County. Come on. That's what I said to the president. I said, Mr. President, for me, I'm not a United Party man, right? But this government, as long as I'm a local man, I'm from Lofa County. I'm a citizen. And I'm part of this government. I'd like for the record to state here, I support this government 100%. I support the president and his agenda. So someone was saying, Thomas Father, we saw a few months ago that the key fire, this is the key fire. So let the message go Lofa. It's one Lofa now. We're moving in one direction. We are moving in one direction, except someone want to convince me why we should not move in one direction. Because I was under the water, I was under the river, right? So I know the creatures are out there. So you can tell me about the creatures that are under the creek. So I was once under that creek, right? Yeah. So if you want to bring that argument, we'll discuss it later. I was under the creek, and I know the creatures that are under that creek. But for this purpose, we are discussing Lofa County, the unity of Lofa, moving in one direction for the success, because we believe our county is far beyond time when it comes to development. So for me, I tell people wherever I find myself, development is my hallmark. I like to leave mine. And if we say we're supporting His Excellency Joseph Nimba, we must start. You see the tree has branches. The tree stem has branches. The branches are those that support the tree, the stem. So if our president for Lofa County is the father of the country, we too have our role to play. Maybe the minister, the director, the representative, the deputy speaker. If all of us put support around him, really Lofa will develop, right? Yes. So that's why I said I will take the lead. So that we can push my nephew, my uncle, my minister, my director, all of us are trying to come up. That's what I said to the president. I said, Mr. President, for me, I'm not a United Party man, right? But this government, as long as I'm a local man, I'm from Lofa County, I'm a citizen. And I'm part of this government. I'd like for the record to state here, I support this government 100%. I support the president and his agenda. So someone was saying, Thomas Father, we saw a few months ago that the key fire, this is the key fire. So let the message go Lofa. It's one Lofa now. We're moving in one direction. We are moving in one direction, except someone want to convince me why we should not move in one direction. Because I was under the water, I was under the river, right? So I know the creatures are out there. So you can tell me about the creatures that are under the creek. So I was once under that creek, right? Yeah. So if you want to bring that argument, we'll discuss it later. I was under the creek, and I know the creatures that are under that creek. But for this purpose, we are discussing Lofa County, the unity of Lofa, moving in one direction for the success, because we believe our county is far beyond time when it comes to development. So for me, I tell people wherever I find myself, development is my hallmark. I like to leave mine. And if we say we're supporting His Excellency Joseph Nimba, we must start. You see the tree has branches. The tree stem has branches. The branches are those that support the tree, the stem. So if our president for Lofa County is the father of the country, we too have our role to play. Maybe the minister, the director, the representative, the deputy speaker. If all of us put support around him, really Lofa will develop, right? Yes. So that's why I said I will take the lead. So that we can push my nephew, my uncle, my minister, my director, all of us are
under the resident agriculture first and foremost.
The president, Sylvester Chirople, work for school that work. All of these agreements, they are very good and unique to Liberia. But is there any timeline for implementation for all of these agreements, arrangement with these companies or international partners?
You know very well that when you take over a country, uh, especially like our country, you have to restore donors conference, your partners, you got to open up opportunities by confidence building. And we are getting there. I mean, you can see that we are now documenting. People are now signing up. So the timeline is out. Things are moving. We talk about free trade. When you go to the borders, the immigration squeezing you, the securities are squeezing. We have to unlock those opportunities. That free trade means you give the people the opportunity to go through things in the right way, in a speedy way. People go to the border, they run into a lot of problems. In fact, these are the issues that we're talking about. Give the people a chance to move around freely, to do business, bring goods, carry goods to that country. That's our emphasis. That's what we mean about unlocking opportunities for all of our commodities that come in and out of the country.
Thank you, Mr. President.
To Metex, the 20% LRA. The Auditor General is saying LRA should have related that to the consolidated account. So to know the actual value, monetary value of Metex contract, monetary transaction wide, it is the statement of that transitory account, you will know the total value to be able to determine the 80-20. But that did not happen in this case. So in this case, everything 100% went to Metex, and Metex managed the 20%. Metex determined how much was 20% and how much was 80%. That's it. That's a serious, serious issue for the committee to consider in terms of next steps.
So my concern is that, the GSC is our police to really guide us into how matters like this can be handled. My concern is that LRA is allowing the amount that should come to the government of Liberia to domicile still after collection with Metex. Is it appropriate?
Not appropriate, Senator. That's why we reported it as part of our findings.
Do you also really observe maybe okay because you say your audit end at 2024 October, so you did not go beyond that. But in order to really understand whether they are going beyond even the limit of the contract agreement, the construction that is going on in Nimba, from your study, from your audit, when did it start?
So I don't have access to all of the information now. As part of our audit report, we usually point out exceptions. And we observed that the construction of the DI site was constructed in Nimba, inconsistent with the contract. And like we said, the DI site was facilitated, the funding.
So, Hassan Farika, or Husid Farika, as he's called, has been sent to the Morova Central Prison. As you see, he's being escorted from the court. So he's expected to spend his first night at the Morova Central Prison. tonight. So he's brother to Hassan Fadika, and they say Husit Fadika. So here is it. So you welcome. So that's it. So he
trying to come up. That's what I said to the president. I said, Mr. President, for me, I'm not a United Party man, right? But this government, as long as I'm a local man, I'm from local county, I'm a citizen, and I'm part of this government. I'd like for the record to state here, I support this government 100%. I support the president and his agenda. So someone was saying, Thomas Father we saw a few months ago that he fired, just as the fire. The message goes over, it's one local now.
Good morning, and a pleasant welcome. This is today's show right here on Spoon 107.5. We are coming to you live. Spoon. 101.1. Also live on our various social media platforms. Welcome. It's a brand new day. Today's show. One stop for truth. Break up down kinds of change. Happening for everything that matters. Economics affect your pocket. Issue religion touches the soul. We are here this morning, no sugarcoating, no covered ups, just straight talk and real vibe. Ready for bold conversation, powerful opinion from our listeners, voice, because this show is all about you. Give you the opportunity according to speak your minds. Time of issues that will be discussed here this morning. Your breakfast, with us because we talk, listen, when we move together. Once more, have a wonderful time together on the today show. It's 7 minutes on the flip side of 8 o'clock. So, this morning we have folks from the LRA as our guests here on this edition of the show. 9 o'clock, sitting more about the workings of the LRA. We also cut across Liberia to speak with some of our correspondents. They'll be telling us exactly what's happening in their respective locations. You know, speak with Victor Coco about the by-election there in this refined Nimba County. We also speak with King Brown from Grand Bassa County. This is a Bassa that's said to be disappointed of the manner in form which the social development fund is being utilized. County's administration. Speak to King Brown to tell us more about that. We also hope to speak with Conquest Walker originally from Bone County. Time permits us to have a correspondence we have across the country. So folks, don't go away. I want to rumble through local dailies here. You know what's happening in the print media. You know, it's interesting. It's very very interesting. Listen to this excerpt for those of you listening to the radio, and a video for this. For those of you watching. And as a matter of fact, I'd like to welcome all of you watching the show this morning. Let's recognize some of those watching us. Darius D. Gold is following the show this morning. Darius, thanks for following. Coaches Edom Tahai is also following the show. Clone Destiny EK Seton is following the show from District 15. First up, hey says he's watching at his residence this morning in Senegal, Nimba County. Thanks for following the show from Senegal Festus. Christopher S. Cummings Jr. Is also following the show. Haji Sekou Masale is watching this morning. Samuel P. Khalil is watching from Mingo Community. Samuel, thanks for following the show this morning. The Optimist Khan Liberia is watching. Abu Lader Sharif is following the show. Michael Waller is following the show this morning. Samuel G. Bonner is following the show. Anthony W. J. Sr. is following the show. Vinton Godfavor Vancia is following the show. He says, good morning. Honorable Gompu El Kagon. Oh, wow. Honorable, if that's the former district representative of Nimba County, I'd like to say thanks for following the show this morning from Nimba County or wherever you are this morning. Okay, he says he's following from Nimba. Henry T. Cole Jr. is following the show. Thanks for following, Henry. Emmett Hammond is following live from Cox City. Thanks for following, Emmett. Collisine Bima is following the show from Louisville, USA. Thanks for following. Luke J. Ole is following the show from Johnsonville, Lodging Town. Matadi. And just everyone following the show this morning. Koli Musa J. Navarro Seki Jr. is following the show from Caldwell. So good morning and welcome to all of you following the show this beautiful morning. You know, politics is interesting. In politics, today you may be for somebody, and tomorrow you may not be for that person. That is why in politicking, we all need to be very cautious how we go about, you know, in the public discourse, how we go about, you know, attacking each other politically. And that is why, for me personally, I will always advise that as politicians or those of us who have, you know, our own political views, when making those views, we should make those views, we should be constructive in making those views. We should respect each other, you know, in making our political views. Because today you are on a particular side, all right? Tomorrow you may find yourself on another side. Because it's often said politics is all about interest. Yes, of course. That's a fact about politics. It's about interest. Because if you don't have interest in certain political institution or in a certain politician, you wouldn't go for that politician. You wouldn't support that particular politician. You must have an interest in that person before. But above all, we should prioritize national interests. The interests of the country should be our home or primary concern in politics. While we may have our different individual interests, I think the national interest should be placed above all other interests. Okay, in Lofa County, we all know the story in Lofa County between the Unity Party and the PDP. And there in Lofa County, you had Thomas Fala, who was representing the CDP at the time, and there were a lot of hullabaloo there in Lofa County. You know, partisans attacking each other, and some very, very aggressive statements, politicians attacking each other, and all of that. But at the end of the day, after the election, what happens? We all come back together and, you know, try to forge the interest of Liberia. Okay, somebody said, yeah. So we all need to come together and push the interest of Liberia. And that is why we must be constructive, and that is why we must be respectful to each other in politics. And that is why politics, in politics, and I think the issues must be discussed. Politics is all about convincing the audience, the public, the citizens, you know, to support your ideology, your political ideology. That's all it is about. It's not about using invectives. It's not about vilifying each other and all of that. Even though all of these things happen, and it's not only unique to Liberia, even in the great United States of America, but you know, there will come a time that your interests will change, like it appears to be in the case of the Deputy Speaker, Thomas Fala. So today you hear Thomas Fala speaking. And he himself, he said it. He said, I know, you know, you'll be surprised that the Thomas Fala of yesterday will be speaking in the form and manner in which he's speaking right now. You know, and that is why we must practice constructive politics. Because tomorrow, you may see yourself on the other side of the coin, but as time goes by, you will also see yourself on the other side of the coin. So, if you had kind of played a messy politics while you are on the other side of the coin, drifting or shifting to the other side of the coin is going to be difficult for you. And the issue of trust will come to play, whether you should be trusted or whether you shouldn't be trusted. But let's play this video footage again of the Deputy Speaker, Thomas Fala of Lofa County.
That's what I said to the president. I said, Mr. President, for me, I'm not a Unity Party man, right? But this government, as long as I'm a Lofa man, I'm from Lofa County, I'm a citizen, and I'm part of this government. I'd like for the record to state here, I support this government 100%. I support the president and his agenda. So someone was saying, Thomas Fala was saw a few months ago, and he fired, just the fire. So let the message go, Lofa, it's one Lofa now. We're moving in one direction. We are moving in one direction, except someone want to convince me why we should not move in one direction. Because I was under the water, I was under the river, right? So I know the pictures are out there. So you can't tell me about the pictures are under the creek. So I was once under that creek, right? Yeah. So if you want to bring that argument, we'll discuss it later. I was under the creek, I know the pictures are under that creek. And for this purpose, we are discussing Lofa County, the unity of Lofa, moving in one direction for the success. Because we believe our country is far beyond time when it comes to development. So for me, I tell people wherever I find myself, development is my hallmark. I like to leave mark. And if we say we're supporting His Excellency Joseph Nimba, we must start. You see the tree has branches. The tree stem but it has branches. The branches are those that support the tree, the stem. So if our president for Lofa County is is the father of the country. We too have our role to play. Maybe the minister, the director, the representative, the deputy speaker. If all of us put support around him, really look how we develop, right? Yes. So that's why I said I will take the lead. So that we can push my nephew, my uncle, my minister, my director, all of us are.
Okay, so that's the voice of the Deputy Speaker, Thomas Fala. I think he needs to come up, officially to tell us if he's resigning from the CDC. He hasn't made that official. But again, saying that you're supporting the government, the agenda of the government, it doesn't mean that, you are no longer part of an opposition political party, because everybody should support the agenda of the government. I think the main role of the opposition is to criticize the government when the government is trading on the wrong trajectory. I think that's the main role of the government. But politicians should not be against the agenda of the government. And opposition politicians should support the agenda of the government, especially so when it is in the interest of the citizens. I'm not saying opposition politicians should come up, to praise the politician, in fact, the government of the day and all of that. You wouldn't say that. That wouldn't happen, because they too, they are fighting to take power. So you wouldn't see that sincerity. That sincerity wouldn't play in politics. But the fact is, when the government does good, if the opposition don't have anything to say, if they don't want to, praise the government or appreciate the government for a certain, a positive initiative that it has undertaken, I think they should just keep mute and just let it slide, but not coming up to paint that white to be black. But folks, who have on the line our correspondent in Nimba County, let's speak to him this morning. Is Victor Cooper. Victor, good morning and welcome. How are you? How is Nimba County?
So good morning. I'm doing okay. Nimba is doing better from my end. Where I'm at now, Nimba is okay here. And we have a friendly weather here this morning in Nimba County, Ganta, precisely.
Okay. Victor, it's good having you on. Are you in Ganta or Tapeta?
I'm currently in Ganta. I arrived last night. I'm in Ganta currently.
Oh, okay. So let's know particularly about activities leading up to the by-election in District 5, Nimba County. Tell us about the momentum there. Who are some of the candidates that have expressed interest in partaking or contesting for the representative seat there in District 5? And tell us about some of those formidable candidates, some of those candidates who are likely, to win the seat.
So thank you, Yegezi. The heat of the by-election in District number 5 is ongoing now. I sent a declaration from the National Election Commission that indeed the 2nd of August will be the election in the district. Already giving several candidates the authority now to go and base in the district. Many of them are like basing in the district now, doing almost all of the activities that will maybe compensate or reach the needs of their winning the elections. So on this basis, now if you enter district number 5, it's almost a national election in the country. People have started giving political promises. People are now started erecting political projects in the district. People are now placing a grading role in the community. People are now breaking ground for high schools. People are now breaking ground for community schools around the place. These things are all normal phenomena that happen when election is nearing. So it's now a strange one. So for now, there are 3 candidates that are currently in the district. Basically, that they are now a formidable one so far, because the one who shall make them full travel or recent with the vice president of China.
Okay.
So on that, you have 3 persons on ground now who are taking over the district in terms of a by-election coming up in district number 5 shortly.
Who are those candidates?
So you got one Samson Una who is there making name, one person who are taking over the district for now in terms of development making is one Boris Badier. Boris Badier is one person who came from the back who had not contested before in the district. This is the very first time, but he has now sent over 3 yellow machines in the district, and those machines are grading various community roads, towns, farm to market roads in those places, those connected areas that they move to Dinkley.
Oh my God. Okay. We lost Victor. Let's try to quickly reconnect with Victor Cooper this morning. Yeah, you're listening to the Today Show. We live on Spoon 107.5, Fabric 101.1, and on our various social media platforms. Victor is back on the line. Victor, please go ahead.
So, like I was saying, Boris Badier is one person who did not contest before in the district. He has not been able to make any impact when it comes to politics before in the district, though he has been making some humanitarian impact around the country. But then this come about, he has started developing the district by grading various towns to villages, town to market road around the place. So, like I said, he sent 3 yellow machines in the district of recent. They are grading roads as well. So one person is now Koto Kwagru, who are also been there, coming second to current Senator Koga during the just ended represented election 2023. He came second to him. Koto Kwagru is also in the district making name, and I'm sure he will be joined by Augusto Mekoa, who want to make them 4. But total number we have in possession here, they are numerous that are contesting there, but these are the 4 formidable ones that are now in the district. If you like, I can give you every one of them in like having possession.
Yeah, you just go ahead.
So the field we have for now, you have Ibrahim Kapo, you have Koto Kwagu, you have Augusto Mekwa, you have Samson Una, you have Joseph Wei, you have Josiah Mami, you have Boris Badier, you have Stephen Manto, you have Peter Wiato, you have Dan Yuwa. Dan Yuwa is there. You have Takbo Mabia, you have Jackson Wu, and more to come maybe in subsequent time. But these are the ones we have in possession for now, like 9 persons so far.
9 persons in total.
Yeah, 9 persons. The one we have in possession is about 9 persons.
Expressed interest.
3 persons is currently in the district dominating, with 1 to be added. Augusto Mekwa very shortly. Augusto is also making name in the district, but recently he traveled with the vice president of China.
Okay. Now, let's look at the role of the incumbent, the outgoing representative, who's now a senator of Nimba County. I mean, has he have a say, or has he declared support to any of the candidates so far?
Not really. Not really. Or recent, several of them met with him on his farm. Those of whom paying courtesy to him because he is the district godfather, met with him on the farm, asking him for his support.
Okay.
But he openly said to every one of them that in this election, though he is a politician, he want to support a specific candidate in the district. But then the first thing should be done, that usually done in our district, is those people that are contesting should go and seek the hands of the chief and elders. Let the elders in the place come up with 1 person. That's going to be a primary among them. And on the basis of that, any of them name going to come from the elders, that individual is bound to be supported by him, Koga. But where you now go and seek the face of the elders, the chief and elders in the district to give you the blessings, where you just maybe wake up one Sunday morning coming to contest on your own, it means you are on your own. You will not have regard for the elders in the district. So the only possibility of him supporting an individual candidate in our district, except where the chief and elders in our district having to come up with a specific person, more especially a commendable one that can make the district to go on a higher level than he did in the past, then that person is bound to be supported by him, Koga.
Okay. All right. What about the vice president? I listened to him the other day when he said that he's not going to play any major role in the politics there in district number 5, as he did with the senatorial election. Uh, but I understand that he has some very close friends in the race, like Quagru. Quagru happens to be a very a close friend to him. So behind the scene, uh, do you see the vice president supporting any of the candidates behind the scene?
So you get this thing, the particular question, it come complicated in a district here when it comes to the district policy, the policy rather, because the vice president is been heavily criticized here in Nimba County. People are saying that the vice president is not becoming stable in this election. Means, even the choreographer you're talking about is an engineer to the vice president, very close friend.
Okay.
And then you also have Gustav Menkwa, who is currently with the vice president in China, very a close friend to the vice president, also an engineer. The both of them are contesting in the district. So, children, if the allegation or information coming on the vice president supporting an individual, then what will people say again when they happen to see Gustav Menkwa with the vice president? So, like you said from the beginning, the vice president said openly here in Nimba County that he is not going to partake from now on into any local politics here in the county because he's now heading for a national one. So he's not going to go for any local politics here in the county. So on this note, the people in district number 5 going to stand the ground to make their decisions. The reason why he supported Kuga was that election was a need of the president. Kuga was heavily called by the president, so there was a name for him to have come down at the time to support Kuga. But this by-election in district number 5, he have no part to play there. So these people who are carrying on speculations that he is supporting an individual candidate, it is false and misleading. He is not supporting any of them. These guys are all his friends. And so there is no way that he can dodge them. Because of recent Quarter Crack with the vice president in Moravia, people said the vice president called Quarter Crack to give him money. Now Quarter Crack is currently in the district running his campaign. Now the Augusta Menkwa is already with the vice president in China there. So should we say again the Bible within two of them uncover? So the question comes with answer to follow, but it is complicating. There is no way that correspondent here can answer the question to your text as you expect it to be.
Thank you.
But now the Bible is not supporting anyone here for all to say yeah, it's supporting this person financially or morally, physically for all to see it.
All right. Victor, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you on the line this morning, and thanks for giving us those information.
And so it's our pleasure. I will show you that coming from this week up to next month, we will be in the district there. District number 5 will be based in there fully. Every report will be coming from there directly to you in my report. There will not be around here before, but we're basing that district to the end of the election. That's what we can show you for now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Victor, it's been a pleasure. Hope to have you another time here. So it's 32 minutes flipping 8 o'clock. You are listening to the Today Show. We live on Spoon 107.5. The show has been simulcast on Fabric 101.1, and we are also live on our various social media handles: Spawn TV Live, Fabric TV Live, Super TV Live, and via our YouTube channel. So you can catch us up on any of these platforms, and of course, you're going to watch or listen to the show live this morning. Let's see if we can quickly speak to King Brown before diving into all the issues here. This morning, King Brown is our Grand Bassa County correspondent. Okay, yeah. So King Brown appears he's on another call. So we just wait a little bit, to place a call to him later on. Now, we have a statement here from the opposition. Is a very, very bulky statement here. A very, very bulky statement. I hope to read, but it's too bulky. It's going to take a lot of our time. And this statement is from the opposition. Is a statement from the ANC, from the CDC, and other, opposition political parties. So it says opposition political parties joint statement calling for a special prosecutor to investigate alleged police misconduct in the capital Arson case. So it says, we are concerned and wish to bring to the attention of the Liberian public and our international partners issues of grave concern regarding the investigation and arrest of certain lawmakers and other Liberian citizens on account of the fire at the Capitol, which was initially declared arson and which the police have been investigating as such. Based on the facts and in accordance with the law set forth below, we request the appointment of a special prosecutor to investigate and, when necessary, prosecute proven instances of witness tampering by certain members of the Liberia security forces. Let us be clear. We support the vigorous prosecution of anyone involved in the commission of the crime of arson at the Liberian capital. However, the investigation has been marred by troubling events that, if proper care is not taken, could lead to the conviction of innocent persons, a grave miscarriage of justice. It says witness tampering, Thomas Etheridge. On January 9, 2025, Thomas Etheridge was taken voluntarily to the Liberia National Police for questioning in the presence of his lawyer, as required by the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. The police, in keeping with the law, decided to detain him for additional questioning. Consequently, his lawyer left him in police custody. According to Mr. Etheridge, he was taken to the headquarters of the National Security Agency at White Plains at about 8 p.m. and was subjected to several forms of torture and coercion over the course of several days. Okay, so I'm having an oversight here. So just bear with me. So according to Etheridge, yes, over the period of several days, okay, he was told to implicate his boss, the former speaker, and was given a prepared statement to sign indicating as much. He refused and was later handed back to the police after several days at the NSA headquarters, and he was subsequently charged with arson. The second is Andrew Lawson and Albert Weir. Andrew Lawson and Albert Weir were arrested by the anti-robbery unit of the Liberia National Police on January 4, 2025, and transferred to the National Security Agency headquarters for 8 days. Following their arrest, both men reported that they were tortured and forced to sign statements. Albert Weir protested that he was at Central Prison under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Justice and thus was not involved in the burning of the Capitol. He had been involved in a protest the day before and was arrested near the University of Liberia. Andrew Lawson reported that he refused to sign a prepared statement that falsely implicated former Speaker Kofa. Both men reported that they were forced to drink urine, subjected to physical beatings, and otherwise mentally tortured. Finally, Lawson reported that NSA personnel apologized to him and offered him $2,000 for his pain and suffering if he who signed the statement. He again refused. Both men were later released onto a public street near Tottenham Boulevard. Andrew Lawson has reportedly fled the country and has been interviewed in a foreign jurisdiction as a victim of torture in connection with reported human rights violations. John Yanti is a Liberian citizen who was lured by family members under an agreement to testify in the capital Arson case. According to Yanti, he arrived in Monrovia on January 6, 2025, was picked up by the Liberia National Police and taken to a luxury hotel near Monrovia called Lifestyle Luxury Hotel. He spent 8 days there, during which time, according to him, he entertained a host of police personnel and government officials, including Mark Amblat, Police 106, Police 103, one ambassador, and other officials. The offer ranged from an initial 50,000 USD to as much as 200 USD. To implicate former Speaker Kofa and his colleagues, various family members who claimed to have been part of the negotiations have confirmed Yanti's story publicly. Yanti eventually decided that he could not lie by giving false testimony. He was charged and brought before court on June 18, 2025, after spending 11 days in police custody. The statutory maximum for holding a criminal suspect is 48 hours. Holding John Yanti for over 11 days was a clear violation of his constitutional rights. Furthermore, we have Bacchus Cape, Patrick Halley, and Gabriel Fensier. Bacchus Cape, Patrick Halley, and Gabriel Fensier were arrested on June 4, 2025 for arson at the Capitol. The charges were similar to those brought against the lawmakers and other private citizens. They were held for more than 5 days and summarily released without comment after refusing to implicate others in a crime. Apparently, the only crime alleged was merely living in District Number 16 and being affiliated with Honorable Dixon Sibo. Christian Kofa. Christian Kofa was also arrested on the same rate as Bacchus Cape and others, although the others were released and the whereabouts of Christian Kofa are unknown. His family has reported that he has been kidnapped. The police have yet to make him available to his lawyer, and we have been informed that he is being held at another hotel location where he is being induced to provide false testimony. Okay. Yeah, so the statement, like I said, is a bucket statement. Okay. So basically, so this is a collective press release from the opposition, the ANC, the CDC, the Citizen Movement for Action. No, Citizen Movement. Yeah, the Citizen Movement Committee, CMC. Yeah, and is also from MOVE. So we have 4 opposition political parties coming up with this statement, and they are calling for a joint. They are calling for a special prosecutor to investigate the alleged misconduct in the Capitol building Arson case. So according to them, most of the witnesses, or most of those that were charged with in this Arson case, most of them were tortured. Most of them were physically abused, and most of them were forced to implicate some of the individuals that have already been implicated into this Arson case, especially the representative of the former speaker, Kofa. All right. So they are saying a special prosecuted team should be set up to be able to look into these allegations of these allegations of human rights abuses. Yeah. So that's what the four opposition political parties are saying. But then, when it comes to the implication of the lawmakers, I tend to wonder, why would the police want to implicate the former speaker and other, lawmakers who were part of the minority bloc? What is the intent of the police wanting to do that? Is there any political benefit for doing that? That's what I tend to think about. Because if you say somebody, if you accuse someone of doing something, if somebody does something, there must be, some kind of a political benefit that the person may want to, get from what they do. But looking into the matter, what political benefit do you think maybe the Unity Party government will want to accrue from implicating the former speaker into an Arson case that allegedly, according to the opposition, he does not know anything about? What about the other lawmakers? What's the essence of implicating them? What political benefits would the Unity Party or would the government accrue from that? So these are things that I think we need to be thinking about. And as for the Arson case, I think it is just important. I know you will have opposition coming up with, critical views or criticisms or condemnation about the way the case is proceeding, especially if you have, folks from the opposition being charged or being accused of perpetrating the Arson attack. Of course, you have opposition. I mean, it's a tendency in the political spectrum of Liberia, where you always see opposition politicians coming, to the defense of, their fellow politicians who is being persecuted and all of that. But I think what we need to do as citizens and as politicians is to let the police do their job, is to let the court do their job. Yeah. The case will be politicized, but it is a political case as a matter of fact, because you have politicians involved into the matter. So of course you have, it's going to be highly politicized, highly politicized. But I think the prosecutors need to be focused. The prosecutors don't need to be distracted by, all of the other activities that are happening around politically when it comes to the matter. I think they need to be very, very focused in prosecuting this matter. Yes, the opposition, they have a point. I mean, a separate and independent prosecutor should come and investigate allegations of torture, witness torture, or torture of those who have been accused to implicate other people, and blah, 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 blah. But all of that all of that. I just some of the political process as the case is being prosecuted. So we look forward to the court. The government has to be focused. That is what I will say. The government has to be focused. This shouldn't be one of the cases where I mean it's going to take forever. This shouldn't be one of the cases that will be swept under the carpet, that nothing will come out of, because there have been a lot of cases in this country, major cases, where the government, some of them are still languishing in court. Some of them, I mean, the government, because of interference, because of interventions, political interference, they are still, in court. But this one, I think, is something that each and every Liberian is watching the process. And if we must be taken seriously as a country, if our justice system must be taken seriously, then this case has to be taken seriously. So we are not saying that the court should indict or the court should prosecute and find guilty. Let the court prosecute objectively, without any political interference. Let it prosecute the process. If the government, doesn't have enough evidence to justify all of the claims or allegations that have been made against those individuals, of course, let them be acquitted. Let them be vindicated of those allegations. But if there are evidence to have them prosecuted and they are found guilty, let them face the weight of the law. Let them face the weight of the law, in spite of their, their position, their status in society, in spite of position they occupy. And for me, I would think that some of those individuals who are even being prosecuted, I would think that there shouldn't even be attending section. They shouldn't be going to work until after the case. Yeah, there shouldn't be attending section until after the case, because the allegation is a grave allegation as a lawmaker being accused of arson on a sacred building, a state-owned property, somewhere where you go to sit, you yourself, somewhere where you have your office. Because of some reasons, you allegedly go and attack the area, set it ablaze allegedly. It's a case that needs to be looked into. Nobody is saying that those folks are guilty, but let the process be followed. Let due diligence be given them. If the government have enough evidence to prosecute and if they are found guilty, later on, let them face the full weight of the law. Let's forget about the deception. Let's forget about the distraction, because all of those only help. I think the police, the court, and everybody has got to be focused when it comes to judging or adjudicating this matter. So it's about 7 minutes until 9 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock we play host to the folks from the LRA. They will be here at 9 o'clock prompt. to talk to us about real property tax payment, the process of real property tax payment. We will be having that discussion from the folks from the LRA this morning. But in the meantime, between time, folks, we promised to have spoken with King Brown from Lofa, from Grand Bassa County. So let's try to place a call to him, and after that, we'll open the line so that you give your views on some of the issues that we have been discussing here this morning. King Brown, good morning and welcome.
Well, thank you, Yagasi, and let us appreciate the people of Liberia for the opportunity you provided me so they can listen to what is actually happening in Grand Bassa County. Thank you, Yagasi.
Okay, let's hear you. We are hearing that the citizens of Grand Bassa County are disappointed over the form and manner in which their social development funds are being used. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so for the past 4 days, the different community radio stations have been discussing about how the county's social development funds have been used, especially with the recent report that was released by the Project Management Committee, the former Project Management Committee, headed by its chairman, Mose Bazinga Herring, who is now the development officer of Grand Bassa County, releasing a report to the district lawmaker, that is Representative Clarence Ben, who requested them to provide all of the reports of projects implemented under the county social development funds to him as a district lawmaker and the amount. So when that report was released, Yagazi, that report covered the last 6 years under the previous government headed by former President George Banawia. So the last 6 years, the report that was submitted, it shows that and the amount in District 2, so about $332,555 US was allocated from the county social development fund to build bridge in that part of the district. And when the lawmaker requested for that report, in the report, the PMC said they paid full payment to the Gemco construction company to do that work. But you can see, from the day they received the money in the last 6 years up to now, not even a single concrete they were able to put there. And the place remain open, the water still passing, and the people are not using that whole thing. Another one is, another project there is, they're supposed to build another bridge in that same area to a different location. And that bridge is around $177,000. And the county social development fund, again, they gave $40,000 upfront. And the guys did not put anything on the ground, not even a single concrete on the ground as well. And that was also in the report. And another place there, they're supposed to build a clinic, but then the money that was allotted is $8,722 US, and that money was paid in full. They gave the contractor for the $2,000 US, and up to now, the project is on roofing level. It has not been roofed. There is no plaster, no window, no door, nothing, and grass has taken over that whole project. And then the later I want to mention is another place is supposed to build, another bridge, and that bridge is around $130,000 US, and they also gave $20,000 US to the contractor from the county social development fund to start our project, and the guys only dug 3 holes, and those 3 holes, not even a single concrete was placed in the holes. They left the hole jetted up for the last 6 years, and nothing happened. So when that report came out, the citizens themselves have been blaming the lawmakers that the lawmakers have not been able to take action against the construction company for misusing for receiving money from the county social development fund and not being able to implement the projects.
Okay.
So for the last 4 days, there have been a couple of concerns coming up. The citizens are recording on the Labrador Anti-Corruption Commission. They are calling on the General Auditing Commission to make sure they come in, because they said that leaders are not saying anything about it. The Afro-Metal have been providing county social development fund to Bassa for the last 20 years, and they're not seeing any tangibles. So they are calling on the government of Liberia. They are calling on the Labrador Anti-Corruption Commission to come in and see how they can start investigating the Project Management Committee chairman, Mose Herring, who implemented most of the project, and they started to investigate some of those who were under his leadership and those construction companies that received contract from the county, and they did not do any work, and they did not account for the money as well.
Okay, thank you very much, King Brown. I have a lot of questions for you, but we will hold you as that because we have a guest coming up at 9 o'clock this morning. So we can talk more about that tomorrow on the show.
Thank you so much, Legacy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. King Brown is our Grand Bassa County correspondent there, filling us in with developments from Grand Bassa County. You're listening to the Today Show right here on Spoon 107.5. My name is Yekezi Zwobel, and at this juncture, we like to take a very quick break. We'll come back. We speak to our guest from the LRA. Let's take this break to be back.
Trying to stomach. That's what I said to the president. I said, Mr. President, for me, I'm not a United Party man, right? But this government, as long as I'm a local man, I'm from local county, I'm a citizen, and I'm part of this government. I'd like for the record to state here, I support this government 100%. I support the president and his agenda. So someone was saying, Thomas Father, we saw a few months ago, the T-Fire, this is the T-Fire. Let the message go no far. It's one no far now. We're moving in one direction. We are moving in one direction, except someone want to convince me why we should not move in one direction. Because I was under the water, I was under the river, right? So I know the pictures are out there. So you can tell me about the pictures that are under the creek. So I was once under that creek, right? Yeah. So if you want to bring that argument, we'll discuss it later. Because I was under the creek, I know the pictures that are under that creek. But for this purpose, we are discussing Lofa County, the unity of Lofa, moving in one direction for the success. Because we believe our county is far beyond time when it comes to development. So for me, I tell people wherever I find myself, development is my home, trying to stomach. That's what I said to the president. I said, Mr. President, for me, I'm not a United Party man, right? But this government, as long as I'm a local man, I'm from local county, I'm a citizen, and I'm part of this government. I'd like for the record to state here, I support this government 100%. I support the president and his agenda. So someone was saying, Thomas Father, we saw a few months ago, the T-Fire, this is the T-Fire. So let the message go no far. It's one no far now. We're moving in one direction. We are moving in one direction, except someone want to convince me why we should not move in one direction. Because I was under the water, I was under the river, right? So I know the pictures are out there. So you can tell me about the pictures that are under the creek. So I was once under that creek, right? Yeah. So if you want to bring that argument, we'll discuss it later. Because I was under the creek, I know the pictures that are under that creek. But for this purpose, we are discussing Lofa County, the unity of Lofa, moving in one direction for the success. Because we believe our county is far beyond time when it comes to development. So for me, I tell people wherever I find myself, development is my home mark. I like to leave mark. And if we say we're supporting His Excellency Joseph Nimba, we must start. You see the tree has branches. The tree stem has branches. The branches are those that support the tree, the stem. So if our president for Lofa County is the father of the country, we too have our role to play. Maybe the minister, the director, the representative, the deputy speaker. If all of us put support around him, we really go far with develop, right? Yes. So that's why I said I will take the lead. So that we can push my nephew, my uncle, my minister, my director, all of us are
under the resident.
Go to Metex, the 20% LRA. The Auditor General is saying LRA should have remitted that to the consolidated account. So to know the actual value, monetary value of Metex contract, monetary transaction wide, it is the statement of that transitory account, you will know the total value to be able to determine the 80/20, but that did not happen in this case. So in this case, everything 100% went to Metex, and Metex managed the 20%. Metex determined how much was 20% and how much was 80%. That's it. That's a serious, serious issue for the committee to consider in terms of next steps.
So my concern is that, the GSC is our police to really guide us into how matters like this can be handled. My concern is that LRA is allowing the amount that should come to the government of Liberia to domicile still after collection with Metex. Is it appropriate?
Not appropriate, Senator. That's why we reported it as part of our findings.
Do you also really observe maybe okay because you say your audit end at 2024 October, so you did not go beyond that. But in order to really understand whether they are going beyond even the limit of the contract agreement, the construction that is going on in Nimba, from your study, from your audit, when did it start?
So I don't have access to all of the information now. As part of our audit report, we usually point out exceptions. And we observed that the construction of the DI site was constructed in Nimba, inconsistent with the contract. And like we said, the DI site was facilitated, the funding
under the resident agriculture is first and foremost.
The President, Sylvester Chirople, work for Spoon that work. All of these agreements, they are very good and unique to Liberia. But is there any timeline for implementation for all of these agreements, arrangement with these companies or international partners?
You know very well that when you take over a country, especially like our country, you have to restore those.
Okay, pleasant welcome back. This is today's show right there on Stone 107.5. It's 7 minutes on the place side of 9 o'clock. Like I told you, at about this time, we're going to be having talking the LRA this morning. We talked about real property tax here. And of course, right now we have in our studio Mr. Isaac B. Stevens, Assistant Commissioner Taxpayer Services Division, Liberia Revenue Authority. We are expecting Victor Steele, Senior Officer, Real Property Tax Division, Liberia Revenue Authority. But in the meantime, between time, we will start the conversation with Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens, good morning and welcome to Spoon FM and Spoon TV.
Good morning, Yekazi. And it's a pleasure to be with you this morning on your popular platform.
Now, okay, it's good having you. Is it your first time here?
No, I've been here on a couple of occasions, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's just jump straight into it because we've gone 8 minutes already. Mm. Let's know what is real property tax.
Well, real property tax is a tax that is paid on real property that are located within the borders of Liberia.
Okay.
And when we talk about real property in general term, we are talking about land and or building.
Okay.
That's the two major classification when we talk about real property. We are either talking about land or we are talking about buildings. And we can even go further and sub-classify that to say land in rural areas and land in urban areas. And for building, we can say commercial, residential, industrial, and so forth. So these are the major classifications when we talk about real property. And again, the tax is what is paid on these properties that are located within the borders of Liberia.
Okay. Then what is the tax rate of each classification of real property?
The tax rate varies depending on the classification of the property. So for this morning, we will go through the major ones that we actually administer at the Liberian Revenue Authority. So for commercial, we say the rate is 1.5% of the current market value of the property. And I will explain market value later. For industrial, it's the same 1.5% of the current market value of the property. And therefore residential is 1/4%, which is 0.25% of the current market value of the property. Now, you know, all of these rate ascribes to the buildings, right?
Yeah.
And then when we go to land, at LRA, for the most part, we deal with city or town lots, which is 3.5% of the current market value of the property. And if it is more than a lot, a lot or more, is 4.5% of the current market value of the property. These are the major ones that we normally administer at LRA. But we also have rates, for example, for farm in urban areas, 0.33, farm outside urban area, 0.25, and so forth. But the major ones that we normally administer in terms of property taxation are LRA, residential, commercial, industrial, time lots, and city lots.
Okay. Yes, you say you are going to emphasize on market value.
So when we talk about market value, in a layman term, we are saying, what will you be willing or to sell your property for at a given point in time, to the general public? In other words, there's no family relationship, there's no friend, but will you sell that land, in the open market within the general public, and how much is a buyer willing to buy that property? That can be considered a current market value. In some cases, if the building is new and you just, perhaps got through building it, right? You could accumulate the cost of how much you actually pay, both talking about labor and material, to construct that house. So at that moment, that could be considered a reasonable estimate of the current market value. But land and or building appreciates in value over time. And so that's why the word current market value is not what you bought the property maybe months or years ago, but what would that property trade for today in an open market.
Okay.
That's the current market value.
Okay. And one may like to know the difference between residential property and commercial property.
Okay. So for residential property, you live there, you live there, or you live there with your family or friends or relatives. There's no profit motive attached. There's no intent to generate revenue or income. Okay. So that's residential. But the moment you say to yourself, let me rent one room or let me attach a shop to the building so I can get a small thing from, obviously that residential turns into commercial.
Okay.
All right. So we got to be mindful of that. And people need to know that, because in some communities, people, have their residential, but then they attach a shop to it, or, a store, whatever you want to call it. And then automatically that turns into a commercial property. So for commercial is, just where you sell goods or even services, right? Or rental properties, hotels. These are commercial, right? We talk about industrial. You're talking about like beer factory, Coca-Cola factory, or the mattress factory, stuff and thing. These are industrial, where goods and our services are also produced and sold, to the general public.
Okay, but I mean, one may get confused. Why? Because if you talk about commercial, one may say, I mean, I have my house, right?
Yes.
And I'm renting it. Is that not commercial?
But that's what makes it commercial, and that's what I said. If you're living in it and there's no intent to generate revenue from the renter or the lease of that property, then it is purely residential. But the moment you start to generate income, then it becomes commercial.
Okay. Yeah. So then how is the value of real property determined?
Okay. So for commercial properties or residential properties or so forth, we ask the property owner to engage the services. In other words, to hire an engineer or an architect to value the property. And then you bring that valuation to LRA and carry to the real estate tax division. And they will look at the value, and if they feel that the value is, because at that point now is a conversation between you and our valuation team within the division to arrive at a mutually acceptable value, right? But the onus is on the property owner to bring us the value. But you can also engage the services of our valuation team within LRA to come and value the property, and that's for commercial or industrial. But for residential, the law provides that you, the property owner, give us your best estimate of the current market value of the property. Yeah, but it also leave room for us at LRA to come and revalue that property if we believe that you may have understated the value of the property. So
overstated.
Well, normally people don't overstate for taxation purposes. Mostly people understate because they want to pay less taxes.
Yeah, because they want to pay less tax.
Right.
Okay. All right. So this is done directly. That is, the taxpayers or the property owners have to come directly to the LRA.
Correct. You have to come directly to LRA because there are a few things involved here.
Okay.
Let's assume you have not yet registered your property at all. And let me say that the tax law provides that if you inherit a property, if you buy a property, I mean, regardless of how you acquire it, the moment you acquire a property in Liberia, the law provides that within 30 days, you should come to the Liberia Revenue Authority, and register that property and begin the payment of your taxes. But before you can register your property, you need a tax identification number. This is what we call TIN, tax identification number thing, abbreviated as TIN. Okay. In fact, every citizen needs to have a tax identification number because this number uniquely identifies you as a taxpayer within the Republic of Liberia. And it's very simple. You bring a SASPO pass picture and a copy of your national ID, and we give you a short form that you fill out in 15 minutes or less. And we create you a tax identification number that is unique to you. No other person in the country will have that number. And then you bring a copy of your D. The D, whether it's a land D, or whatever, but the D for your property, and we will register you, and then you will begin to pay your taxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you are not literate, you have to bring along somebody to do that for you.
Well, we can assist you. Even if you are not literate, you come. That's why we at Taxpayer Services and registration and even the real estate division, we have people there to assist you. You don't have to be literate to come and register your property. Just bring your D, bring your national ID card, and even the form, we can assist you to fill up the form.
Okay, that's good to know. And then how is the real property tax calculated?
Well, the calculation of the real property tax is a function of the value of the property the classification of the property, and the rate.
Okay.
All right. So in other words, if let's assume you tell us that the value of your property is 10,000, right? The next question would be, what is the classification of the property? Okay, so is it residential? Is it commercial? Is it industrial? Or is it just land, an empty lot? Let's assume you tell me the value of my property is 10,000, and then I ask you for the classification. You tell me it is a residential property. This is where me and my family resides. I'm not earning any income or even renting a room on it. We just live there, my family and I. So at that point, I understand that the property is residential. The value is 10,000, and I know the rate for residential is 0.25% of the value, right? Okay. When I do that calculation, you'll be only paying 25 United States dollar a year, whole year on a property, on a residential property that is valued at 10,000 United States dollar. So the calculation imposed on a property is a function of the value, right? The rate and the classification.
Okay. Wow. So I mean, it's interesting. So the tax is paid on a yearly basis, an annual basis.
Yes, the tax is paid on a yearly basis. Okay. But you have 6 months within the year to pay the taxes without incurring interest and or penalty.
Okay.
So from January 1st to July 1st is the payment period. But the tax itself is assessed on a property for the entire year.
Okay.
All right. But the payment period runs from January 1st to July 1st. As a matter of fact, we are getting close to the end of the payment period. And that is one of the reasons why I'm here this morning to remind the general public that your real property taxes are due. And the payment, the payment date is from January 1st to July 1st. And if you do not pay within that time period, then you begin to incur interest and penalty. So we're encouraging everyone, if you have not registered your property, please come to the LRA. We assist you to register your property and you begin to pay your property taxes. If you are already in our system and you have not yet paid your property taxes, you have perhaps maybe just I'm not sure if it's like 1 week, because today is what, the 24th?
Yeah, the 24th.
So you have about 6 days or so to be able to come and pay your taxes without paying interest and penalties.
Okay. All right. Let's move to the next question. So, what are the processes for withholding on both residential and commercial properties?
Well, I think I just kind of went through it, but I will summarize again. Okay. The first thing is you want to register the property. I've already laid out, the requirements for registering the property. You have to have a TIN number, and we can create that for you. And all that is required is your national ID, a passport size photo.
Okay.
And then you fill up a little short form and you bring the copy of your deed, and we will register your property. We will determine the value, your tax amount based on the value of your property. If it is residential, if it is commercial, you have to bring in a valuation from an architect or an engineer, and we register your property, and then you begin to pay your taxes.
Okay. And what is the timeline for the real property tax? You just talked about
just talk about that, right?
Yeah. So
we just talk about that. January 1st to July 1st. Okay. So you have about 6 months now to really be able to pay your property taxes without interest and penalty, because after July 1st, you begin again to incur interest. And penalty. And interest is calculated based on the Central Bank of Liberia interest rate prevailing at the time you go to pay the taxes. For the penalty is 5% for every month that elapses after
5%.
For every month that elapses after July 1st, right?
Okay.
So at the end of July is 5%, August is 5%, and so forth. But the law says we cannot exceed 25%. Okay. So you'll be accumulating interest at 5% every month up to 25%, and we cannot exceed that.
Yeah. So even if you don't pay your tax for the next 5 years or 10 years, the interest is just 25%.
Well, but the thing you see, interest, it will also be interest on interest along with the principal. So it gets huge.
Okay.
Even if you don't pay for 1 year, it gets a lot. And many times that's where people really go wrong, right? If you have a tax obligation, it's very important to get in touch with the authority so that we can sit with you, understand your individual circumstances and situation, to be able to draft out a payment plan for you to facilitate the payment of your taxes. Don't ignore the LRA and don't ignore our tax officers, that come to, your homes and to your properties and to your places of business to tell you about the taxes come. And that's because the moment you start to accumulate interest and penalty, it gets more and more and more. And at some point, it becomes a huge burden that you are not likely able to liquidate your obligation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, what are the payment methods for?
So at LRA, we continue to innovate and to continue to make tax payment accessible and easy for our taxpayers. So we have various tax payment mechanisms that we've put in place.
Okay.
For example, you can pay your taxes through mobile money. Especially for those who are living in rural area that don't have access to the internet or so forth. You can also pay your money through direct transfer. You can go to the bank and carry your bill, ask your bank teller and give them the information. They'll pull it in the system and they can transfer your money directly from your account to the general revenue account, right? You can also do besides direct transfer, you can pay your taxes now using your Visa, or you even using your debit card as well. There's also a manager's check. You can use manager's check that you can get from the LRA. From your bank and pay your taxes. If your tax obligation is less than 250 United States dollar, you can also pay in cash. Okay. But you cannot pay in cash if it exceeds $250. So these are mechanisms that we've put in place to facilitate the payment of your taxes.
Yeah. So when payment is done, especially those that are in the rural areas, once they pay through the mobile money system, they don't have to come here.
No.
For any other process.
No, they don't have to come here. They will receive confirmation from through text. But besides that too, we have tax business offices and custom business offices located within the counties.
Okay.
All of our counties have our offices located. Some counties even have 2 offices or so. And so you can also go to our tax business offices to pay your taxes.
Okay. And what are the programs and projects put in place to enhance real property?
So this is what we call real property tax expansion within the counties.
Yeah.
The local government act provides that real property taxes generated within local government or within the counties should be shared with national government, what we call revenue sharing.
Okay.
And so we are expanding property taxation in the counties with memorandum of understanding that speaks to that effect, that taxes collected will be shared with the national government. We've done a lot of projects through the assistance of our partners in Magibi and also in Bassa County. Even in Washrado, there are ongoing discussion and memorandums are being drafted with local government, Pinsfield, city of Monrovia and so forth, to ensure the implementation of the local government act, and to also ensure that we can expand real property taxation within the county. So it gives them some incentive to know that they can feel, they can touch, the taxes that they pay, part of the taxes that they pay to government. They can feel it in their neighborhoods, in their community, in their schools, in the improvement in their schools and so forth. So it's very, very important that we all pay our fair share of taxes. But this particular program is very a policy in terms of the local government act, saying that property taxes generated from local government, part of it goes back to local government, and they can decide how they want to use, that money in terms of development within their community. So the goal is to eventually expand in every county, even as it is now. Property taxes is not restricted to Mosharado County. It's supposed to be paid throughout the length and breadth of our country as long as you have property. But we want to make it even more I guess, welcoming for local government to know that they themselves can directly benefit from the taxes that they pay, the property taxes that they pay, consistent with the or in alignment with the Local Government Act.
Yeah. So I mean, we've already talked about what happens if real property owners refuse to pay their taxes.
No, we really haven't talked about that, because
so
let me just throw highlights on that.
There's a span. I thought that you were talking about the penalties and
but that's the penalty, but it goes beyond the penalty and the interest.
Okay,
right. So let's assume you haven't paid your property taxes at all, and our officers at the office look at your documentation or your information in our system and determine that you are delinquent in the payment of your taxes. That means you have not paid your property taxes. They will send you a letter of determination which lays out your tax obligation, explains to you that you owe taxes for this year, in 1 or 2 years, whatever your tax obligations are. They will send you a letter of determination. If you fail and ask you to come to the LRA to sit with us and tell us why you have not paid, or just go ahead and pay, maybe there are legitimate reasons why you have not really paid the tax, to see how we can draft you a payment plan to facilitate the payment. If you do not do that, they will send you a 72-hour closure notice. All right. This notice tries to tell you, say, look, you have not paid your taxes. We send you a letter of determination. You fail to show up, to talk with us regarding your tax obligation. So you have 72 hours within which, if you do not pay your taxes, we'll come and close your property, right? And that is intended, again, to put focus on the payment, to see how we can facilitate the payment of your taxes. After the 72-hour closure notice, if you stayed, have not complied, with your tax obligation, the law provides that we go into our system, get all of your tax obligation information and pass it on to the court. Okay, so it is the court now that we auction your property and pay your tax obligation, and whatever is left, or the remaining, a balance of the sale from the sales of your property, will be given back to you. But let me say again, that is the last thing any tax authority wants to do. The goal is to empower citizens. The goal is for all of us to have inclusive economic growth for all. So there's no intent on the part of LRA to go closing properties down. All we want is for each citizens and resident within our border to know that taxation is a law. This is not something that LRA just woke up one day and decided that we're going to tax people. We talk about the law is the law, and sometimes we talk about that a lot, but we never even come to understand too that taxation is a law. So yes, the law is the law, whether it's criminal, whether it's family law, criminal law, whatever it is. But also there's one that is called the law, the tax law. The tax law is another law that all of us as citizens need to ensure that we fulfill our obligation when it comes to property taxation.
Okay. So now, one may want to know, you briefly talked about that, how important is tax payment, especially for real property tax?
Well, we talk a little bit, but let me just say in general, it's not just about real property, but tax payment is so foundational for every nation. You can see it's very, 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 very foundational. I said it, and I know some people say, man, you always say the same thing on the air, and I will continue to say it, because without taxation, we as a nation and as a country will never aspire to our greatest dreams and aspiration as a nation. It's just the bottom line. Every country in the world have some form of taxation to fund public services, to fund infrastructure. Taxes are the foundation of every nation. Your taxes goes to fund security. You want good security, you want good protection in your country, you need to fund it, and you fund it through taxation. You need education. We need education in our country, okay? And it is taxes that funds education, taxes funds infrastructure. You need, optimal healthcare delivery system. We need hospitals, we need clinics, we need doctors, we need nurses, all right? All of these things are funded by taxes. We need national defense, we need social services, we need public safety. All of these are funded by taxation, by taxes that we pay. So whether it's real property tax, whether it's personal income tax, whether it's business income tax, whether it's custom duty, whatever the tax obligations are, they are very critical to the development of our nation. If we really want to be the nation God has ordained and purpose for us, we have to also be committed and loyal to paying our taxes. Taxation is a national obligation. It is a solemn duty for every citizens and resident alike to fulfill that obligation.
Okay, and how can the LRA be contacted for more information about tax payment?
So you can go to our website, www.lra.gov.lr. Again, www.lra.gov.lr, and you will see a wealth of information on our site. You can also go to www.lra.gov.lr, or you can call 0770-572-572. This is a 24. It's toll free. You can call us. You don't have to pay money when we call you. We don't have to pay money to. Okay. Well, we pay the money, but you don't have to pay. It's a toll free number, 0770-572-572. If you have any question, and let me just say this, you can see also on our website, you will find real property tax calculator. All right, it's a platform there. It's a calculator. All you have to do, you put in the information, and it will calculate the taxes that you're supposed to pay on your property. For example, you put the value of the property, and then it will prompt you to give the category. No, automatically the tax rate are already in. So no matter what, you just have to say whether it's residential, commercial, industrial, and then put in the value, and we calculate it for you.
Okay.
So you would know your taxes before you even come to LRA.
Okay, that's good to know. But just before going to the line, this question is related.
Yes,
to the discussion. So, what type of residential property is taxable, especially here in Liberia? Are all residential properties taxable?
All right. What the law say, Yekazi, is yes, they are all taxable, especially if that property is built with modern equipment or materials, right?
Okay.
For example, if you build a house with zinc, it's taxable. With cement, maybe you put the floor with cement and you have zinc, it's taxable.
Okay.
But if you build a house with mud, with wood, with thatches, and there's no modern, material, you are tax free. You can build 2-3 story house if possible with clay and woods and stuff and things. If it's all natural materials, in other words, you do not have to pay taxes. But as long as you pay it with modern, created fabricated material also, you will pay taxes. But the good part about it is the property, the assessment of how much you pay is based again on the value,
yeah.
Correct. So the taxes will not be like, if you build a 2-3 story brick house or stuff and thing or whatever.
Then it brings me to the question if Liberians are already cooperating when it comes to residential tax payment.
We have huge challenges with respect to property tax. We always call it the low-hanging fruit. It is hanging low, but it's hard, to grab it and to peel it and suck it and whatever and so forth. There are challenges. There are enormous challenges in our country when it comes to real property taxation. One of the major reasons is we do not have a comprehensive cadastral of our property. We don't have a comprehensive national registry of our properties, their classification, their locations, and so forth. In Liberia, some places are not accessible. We cannot easily travel there to enforce. Even if why it is true that we have the intent, we may not be. And we also have challenges in terms of staff shortages. You know, our LR resource constraint also is a challenge. So I just want to say that this is why we need voluntary compliance. This is why we need committed citizens. This is why we need loyal and patriotic citizens, because it's not impossible that LRA will have the staff to go into every nook and corners of this country to enforce the tax law, especially now that we are saying revenue sharing, wherein taxes generated within the counties will also be shared with government. I think it provides some incentive to county authority to help us to support the LRA in ensuring that their citizens are paying their property taxes. But there are enormous challenges, but we do not look at that as an excuse. We continue to work as hard as possible, continue to innovate to ensure that property taxes are collected. But we all just make the commitment, trust me, not only Mosharado, because Mosharado is not Liberia, but all of our counties will reap the benefit of property taxation. In fact, in most countries, you can see property taxes are what fund schools. They fund sewages. In the counties and in local governments and so forth. They are huge financing. That they provide huge financing for local government activities, even including that to police, school, park and recreations and so forth in other countries. So it's very, very critical. It is one of those things that we really get to wrap our hands around it. It will go a long way in helping us develop our country.
Sure. Okay, so folks, you are listening to Mr. Isaac Big Stevens, Assistant Commissioner, Taxpayer Services Division of the Liberia Revenue Authority, talking about real property tax payment here this morning. We've got about 20 more minutes to go. Let's try to look at some of the comments here in our comments section. Edward Jusu Sokol says, Yekezi, can he also speak on custom collection also? For instance, LRA is charging US $10 on each cocoa bag bought from farmers in Liberia. I don't know. I think that is outside the discussion. Yeah.
We will address that another time. Today we want the focus to be on real property tax.
So that is outside the discussion. Somebody says here, the same Edward Jusu Soko says, for commercial residential property, who do the payment? Can one pay on behalf of the landlord and deduct it from the rental due the landlord?
Now there are two things, and it's good that they asked that question. Let me just quickly go through it. There's a tax that is called rented income tax.
Okay.
All right, and there's the property tax. Right, the property tax is the owner of the property that pays the property tax. Okay. The rental income, that's another tax that the property owner is supposed to pay, but the Lord imposes the obligation on the renter to deduct 10% of whatever they are supposed to pay the landlord, right, and report it. They're supposed to report it, asking the property owner for their tax identification number, and then they pay that 10% in their name. The property tax itself is the obligation of the property owner, because the object of property taxation is the property itself, and whoever owns that property is the one that's supposed to pay the property tax. The rental income tax, so if I'm renting for you, Yekasi, and my rent for the whole year is $100, before I pay you that $100, the law says I should withhold 10% of that 100, which is $10, and pay in your name, because you are actually the payer, right? I'm only serving as an agent for the LRA or for the government to collect that $10, but I should pay it in your name and bring you the receipts.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we will open the lines to hear from Liberians, callers, and ask questions, make inquiries if you can. If you have any question or doubts or comments to make, call us on 0777 77 1075 0777 77 1075 0555 1075 0777 77 1075 0555 101075 are the numbers to put you through this morning. We are discussing real property tax payment here today, and we have in studio Mr. Isaac B. Stevens, who's the Assistant Commissioner for Taxpayer Services Division of the Liberia Revenue Authority. Let's talk to this person on the line. Good morning, your name and where you join us from?
Yes, how are you?
I'm okay.
Okay, this is Kona. I listened to the guy. He explained very lengthily, and I think he's hitting the point. And it is good for the citizen to pay their application taxes to government LRA. Thank you for that. But I want him to elaborate on what he said the tenants percentage to pay. So for that property, the tenant percentage, they are the one that pay, or the money is deducted from the rent they pay. So let him elaborate on that more, please.
Okay, so he will just jot that point down and answer you later. Keep listening. All right, let's talk to this other person on the line. Hello, your name and where you join us from? Hello?
Thank you. Hello.
Let's hear your name and where you join us from. Are you there?
Get me loud and clear. I don't know whether you are getting me.
Okay, I'm getting you now.
Thank you very much. This is Akitana. Call from. Thanks to your guest. He explains so many things. But the factor for which many people are now adhering to residential tax is just simple. It's because of the tax rate. The first thing when we're proposing tax.
It's because of what?
The tax rate.
Hello?
Yeah, the tax rate.
Okay, the tax rate.
The tax rate. The first thing here is that in 2016, there was legislation passed, and they increased the tax rate to 100%. This is the first time.
Tax rate increased to 100%.
100%.
That's not possible.
Okay, you say what?
Is that possible for tax rate to be increased to 100%?
It's not possible.
No, is that possible?
No, you can't tell me that. Really, the tax rate before 2016 and really up to now. I'm fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
He will tell you. At amount of $85,000 worth of properties were being paid 80 some more dollars to $152. It's 100%. Even on land, just on private land.
Okay.
There are many issues when it comes to tax policy. The first thing, look at the income of the people. If the people don't have income, what do you expect? The first thing create jobs. If you create jobs, put money in their pocket, then they pay some of that money to government on the issue of taxes. But if I cannot afford a half a house, even though at the time I build a house and I go on a job, and the tax rate is high, I cannot afford it. And just like you said, how can you enforce it? So it's voluntarily. So in order for people to pay voluntarily, reduce your tax rate, increase your tax rate, then you encourage them. When you pay this tax, when you want to travel, when you want to do this, government will give this kind of incentive, and you have to get.
Okay, thank you very much. We lost him. 0777 77 1075 0555 101075 0777 77 1075 0555 101075 are the numbers to put you through. You can call and ask your questions, make necessary inquiries. But in the meantime, let's go over to Mr. Stevens. to answer the two questions just asked.
Yeah, one of the callers wanted me to elaborate further on the 10% rented income.
Yeah, who pays it? Whether it's the tenant or
so
the landlord.
it's actually the landlord that pays the 10%.
Okay.
Because it is subtracted from the amount of rent that you're supposed to pay to the tenant. So, in other words, you are serving, the renter is serving as a fiduciary to the government. They have a fiduciary responsibility to collect the 10%, but it actually comes from the renter amount that you're supposed to pay to the landlord, that 10%.
And
so
the landlord
it is
has to bring you receipt.
The renter is supposed to bring receipt to the landlord.
To the landlord.
Right, because he's collecting it and paying it on behalf of the landlord. And there's reasons for this, Yekasi. For example, somebody have a property here in Liberia, right? And let's say it's a store or a shop. They come and you take it to rent it from them. But they leave, you do the lease agreement and everything, and they leave and they go to the States. They did not pay the renter income. When our officers come in the fee and say and tells you, say, Yekasi, the renter income on this property was not paid, right? And you are the one now leasing that property. You are the one renting that property. They say, well, if you don't pay the rental income, we will close down the property. Who suffers? It's you. And that's why, to ensure that you don't have to go through that, the law says you collect, that way you are sure that the rental income on the property that you are leasing or renting is paid. That's one of the real reasons why the framers of the law, the real property tax law, put it that way, that you be the one to collect the rent, so that you don't become this inconvenient, at a later date when we come to collect that.
So you are saying it is the tenant,
right,
who pays it?
No, it is the tenant who collects it.
Who collects it?
Yeah, but it is the property owner who pays it, because it's an income to the property owner.
Okay. Yeah. The second question.
The second question, it was not a question. I think he was just kind of talking about the tax rate.
Yeah.
Let me say the tax rate are promulgated in law. It's not something we get up every day and just decide, say, we're going to raise the rate or so forth and whatever. This is promulgated in law by our lawmakers and so forth. We can always take recommendation, and we ourselves at LRA, we look at a lot of things, we make recommendations and so forth. But compared to a lot of countries around the world, our rates are reasonable. Our rates are reasonable. Just imagine, I told you, if you own a property, a residential property that costs the value that you build it for 10,000 United States dollars, you only pay $25 a whole year, 25 United States dollars a whole year. And that $25 you pay in 6 months, even if you don't have the $25 to pay at once, you can decide to pay $4, every month, or $5 every month, or $12.50 every 3 months or so forth, and be able to pay. But we can always look at our tax law and see where modifications are needed, where reforms are needed. But our tax rates are, they are reasonable, and we need to just commit. And then one of the things, if everyone was really paying their taxes, right? Because those are the things that you look at when you look at the number of people whose property are registered and how many people are paying the taxes. Okay, we can reduce the tax rate because there's enough compliance. We have a lot of people that are complying with the tax law. So it's a challenging situation, but we are not giving up, because that's our mandate. But we will work with national government to see where reforms are needed to ensure that our citizens pay their fair share of taxes.
Okay, let's take the second batch of calls. Hello, your name and where you join us from?
Yeah, he just chose some light, but deep into that, if there is 2 to 3 apartments, where all those 3 apartments tenants pay percentage for all those 3 apartments as taxes. Let him tell us on that.
Okay, thank you very much. He's going to answer that. Let's talk to this other person. Hello, your name and where you join us from? Hello? Hello, are you there? Okay, I don't know what's happening. Hello? Okay, we're not getting this person. Let's talk to another person. Hello, your name and where you join us from?
Nimba.
Your name?
This
This is John Gono calling from Nimba County.
Okay, let's hear you from Nimba.
Yeah. Are we going back to what supplemental taxation that was sent by the power, like people town, people in the villages, pay taxes, people crying, or usually the thing that are we going?
I don't understand your question.
My question is that are we going back to supplemental taxation, like every pot or houses in the town to pay taxes? Like
okay.
People, even though they are not people now, there's some money, but at the same system, are we going to go through, or usually taxes, are we, how are we going to pay?
Okay, thank you very much. I guess we'll answer you. Let's take one or two more calls, and then he can answer those questions. 0777 1075 0555 101075. Let's talk to this person. Hello, your name and where you join us from?
I'm walking from Bon County.
Okay, let's hear you from Bon County.
I want to know how the LRA locate farming land.
How the LRA locate farming land?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, Mr. Stevens.
Yeah. So let's start with the apartment renter. So, for example, you have a building, and in that building contains 3 apartments. So it's obvious that each of the tenant in those apartments is separate from the others, right? Okay. So for real practical, let's just put it this way. Let's say each of the apartment, the lease amount or rental amount for the year is $100 each, right?
Okay.
So the lease agreement will call for 10% of that 100 for the first apartment, 10% of that 100 for the second apartment, 10% of that 100 for the third apartment. So in total, that would be what? $30, right? That the renter supposed to what? Withhold from the landlord rental payment and give him $90 and report the total together, the $30 to the
3 apartments.
Right. So that's how that works. So yeah, each renter, the question is whether each rental agreement requires 10% of the rental amount to be paid on behalf of the landlord. Okay. Then somebody called from Nimba said, are we going back to Tubman time? What you were paying, sir, at the time was what we call the hot tax. All right. It was mostly fixed a month. It didn't really depend on the value of property. Okay. They just went in the town or villages or whatever and counted the number of houses. And then based on whatever the fixed rate was, they require you to pay, whether it was $5 a hot, whether it was $10 a hot. No, we are not good. That is actually where we left from there. We are not in a different word. Let me, if I could say, this time is based on the value of the property and the kind of property, not a fix for everybody, because that. And one of the things that the reason why we got away from that too was because it became inhumane. Okay. You know, soldiers went to town and they beat people, they laid them down in the sun, they tied them up if they didn't have the rental amount to pay. And the government thought at that time that it became very, very inhumane, and it was a human rights violation. And so we got away from that. Then another somebody called from Bon County, and I did not really understand what he was saying. I can't quite remember because it was kind of fuzzy or something.
I must have I didn't recall.
Oh, I think he talked about farmland.
Yeah, farmland. How
do we locate farmland?
Correct.
So again, it's hard for us to even locate time lots because people own these properties, and many times some of them don't even have hairstone. All right, they are just they just lay bed, and stuff and thing and whatever. This is why you, who the owner, you're supposed to come and tell us and tell the authority that you have a farmland and it is either located in a town, in a village, or in a city, or it is located in rural areas. Okay, so the honors or the responsibility is on you as the property owner to come and to register your farmland. And there are different rates for farmland. For example, farm in urban area is 0.33% of the value of that farmland. Okay, farm outside urban area is 0.25% of the value of that farmland. But it's important that you register your land, whether it's farmland, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, whatever, the property kind, as long as you have acquired it or you have ownership of real property in Liberia, the law says you should come within 30 days and register your property.
Okay. Mr. Stevens, thank you very much. We don't have time.
Can I just talk just for 1 minute on something very important?
Yeah, no problem. Let's do that.
I also want to advise our citizens and residents. It's important that to exercise due diligence when you are buying property, when you are buying land, or even building in our country. Because if, for example, you bought a land that has a tax liability, or you bought a property that has a tax liability, once that agreement is executed, once you purchase that property, you then take on the responsibility of a cycle of whatever debt that was on that property, whether it's a land or a building. So the first thing you do when you go to buy a land, you want to ask the owner of the property first whether the property is registered. Okay. You want to also ask whether it's probated and whether it's registered with the LRA for tax purposes and with the probate code, for ownership, validation purposes. Those are two things you really want to do. And if they say, no, we have not registered the property, then you need to consider the fact that you could be held responsible for paying the taxes, and then you can negotiate that within the payment, as well. But it's very, very important because, once you take on ownership of that property, you also take on ownership of the debt, the tax obligation, on that property. So please do your due diligence when you go to buy property. And as a matter of fact, now we are working with the courts within the counties, to ensure that before a property is probated, that the taxes on that property have been paid. So that's very, very important. I think this is going to help us a lot. And we are asking our judges within the county of the probate courts especially not to relent on that, to ensure that before somebody probate their property, they have paid the taxes, they have registered that property and have paid the taxes on that property before it's probated.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Stephen. It's been a pleasure having you here. Your parting comments briefly.
Well, very quickly, let me just say today we were talking about real properties, but I like to say if you have any tax obligation, how do we incur tax obligation? There are three major ways in which we incur tax obligation. Number one, if you earn income, you have a tax obligation. If you earn income, you have a tax obligation. If you purchase goods or services, you also have a tax obligation. And if you own real property, you have a tax obligation. So all of us, or many of us, in some way, form of faction, we have tax obligation. And it is incumbent upon us, as loyal citizens of our country, to commit ourselves to paying our fair share of taxes to the government and people of Liberia so that they can create the avenue for inclusive growth for all of us, where we can aspire to our dreams, our hope and aspiration, as a nation. Let's make this, a national call that we will pay our share of taxes and then hold our government responsible for the taxes that we pay. Many of us are quick to, talk about government, we talk about everything else, but we are not quick to talk about our obligation to our government in terms of paying our tax obligation. And without taxes, it's going to take us long to develop our country because we cannot rely on foreign assistance to develop our country. They will help us, they will support us, but the responsibility lies with us to ensure that we pay our taxes and develop our country.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Isaac B. Stevens is Assistant Commissioner of Taxpayer Services Division, Liberia Revenue Authority. He's been here, and we've been talking about real property tax payment. Thank you very much for being here. All right, so that's it. Always remember that tax payment is a civic responsibility. That's how I would like to come to the end of this edition of the Today Show. Thanks to all of you who listened, those of you who follow us live on our various social media handles. We'd like to appreciate all of you. Those of you who, just sat by a radio silently and listen to the program, we'd like to appreciate all of you. We'll be back here tomorrow at the same time with another very educated, informative, and entertaining edition of the Today Show. On behalf of the entire production team here, my name is Gekezi Zuobe, bidding you a pleasant goodbye from Odious Town in Monrovia, Liberia. Bye-bye.